Welcome to another episode of the Emetophobia-Free podcast. Today we have Sunneva, who is a coach, one of our coaches based over in Iceland. And we are thrilled to have Sunneva on the podcast because she's going to talk about an area of emetophobia that really resonates with some people, and it's being a mum and having children when you have emetophobia. Now, Sunneva, who will get to share her story very, very shortly, overcame her emetophobia as a single mum of two. And she's here to talk today about how emetophobia affected her journey as a parent and affected her as a mum, and how she was able to manage that being a mum and overcoming it. So we're very, very excited to have you here, Sunneva. It's lovely to see you today.
It's lovely to see you too.
Sunneva, do you want to start at the beginning? When did your emetophobia start for you, and how did it affect you as a mum? Big questions.
I was always told that I had emetophobia.
Okay.
I don't know where it started
Right.
exactly, but I was very young, I guess around 5, 6 years old.
Okay.
And for me, as a kid, every time somebody was puking around me, I was running away, leaving the house. I created this little bubble. I hold my ears, closed my eyes, and was in full-blown panic mode.
Yeah.
And then it was like on and off for years. I had my first kid when I was 21 years old.
Okay.
And was nauseous basically for 2 years. So
Okay.
because I have two kids.
Yes.
And it is 18 months between. So I was like pregnant, and so it started basically when I was pregnant with my first boy, when the emetophobia started to come again and become very bad.
Yes.
I like to say that.
Yeah.
Because as soon as my baby boy was born, I felt I needed to be this perfect mom. Everything had to be inside some kind of box, and I couldn't really cope if something was outside. I was fixing the duvet, and it had to turn the right way, and I was beating myself up about things, very small things, and didn't feel like I was being good enough, not being this great, perfect mom. So I was putting so much pressure on myself and controlling things, and I felt awful. I was just creating anxiety and feeling more and more hopeless with the situations, and felt out of control, and just it was not a pleasant time. There's no manual for kids. You just all of a sudden have a responsibility for another human life, and that takes its toll. It takes its toll.
It does. When you are in the habit of thinking in this way, which is the way the emetophobes think, and you have a high desire for control. You're saying you were trying to control everything and make sure everything was okay, and wanting to be perfect for them. It does take its toll when you process it like that. It absolutely does. It's not necessary to process it like that, which we'll get onto shortly. But so being the perfect mom, that's how it affected you. How did the emetophobia affect your relationship with your children?
I was overprotective, and moving forward for a few years, for the past maybe 5 years, when I became a single mom, that's where I started to feel more anxiety actually, being a single mom. Every time my boys were like having stomach aches, I panicked, I held my distance, I was avoiding being in contact with them, and was even fasting and binge eating, felt stomach aches, so I fasted again, and just this cycle. And it wasn't until my younger boy started to copy my behavior, and my older boy starting to comfort me when I was feeling anxiety, is the time when I was like, okay, now I really have to do something about this. If it's not for me, then it has to be for my boys, because it's supposed to be, I'm supposed to comfort them and be there for them, and my boy is not supposed to be anxious, and he's a kid,
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to loop back a little minute. You said, you were overprotective and very
Yes.
anxious of the children. And then you said it ramped up or it got worse when I became a single mum. Why do you
Hmm.
think that was?
I think it was the added responsibility, and there was a lot of going on in my life.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, I didn't have another person, grown up person, who could take care of the boys when they were sick. But now it
Yeah.
was on me, and I was
Yes.
just imagining things to be awful when somebody got sick. So I just kept
Yes.
my distance.
Was it also harder not having another adult there to help you gain perspective when you started to lose perspective and become overprotective?
Absolutely. There was
Yeah.
actually a time when I had a friend who was spiritual, and he was giving me some energy healing. So I was having this external help, something that I believed to be true,
Mm.
that would help me with my anxiety. So it was like every time I felt anxious, I contacted this person to help me. I couldn't
Mm.
cope doing things alone, and I went to him for support. So I
Okay.
had this significant other in my life as well to
Okay.
help me
Okay.
deal. Mhm.
Okay. And what was the impact of that when you were saying I can't do things on my own and having to contact somebody else? What was the impact of that on your sense of power or how powerful you felt in yourself?
Well, I didn't have any power.
No.
I didn't feel like I had any. I felt
Okay.
so powerless during this time, like
Yes.
really helpless, and oof, yeah,
Yeah.
it was a hopeless time for me. Really, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And having somebody there that you relied on who wasn't, I mean, I don't know the relationship. Was he supporting you in the way of encouraging you to see that you were able to manage on your own, or was it a reliance in that relationship, a codependency?
More like a codependency. He
Yeah.
didn't know how to help me gain perspective.
Okay.
He was just trying to fix some energetic problem in my belly or something. Nothing
Okay.
psychological
Okay.
about that.
Okay. 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 So this was all happening for you and for your boys. Now you mentioned that your youngest boy started copying your
Yes.
behaviors. What kind of behaviors was he copying?
He was starting to become just really anxious, talking about that he was having like stomach aches,
Okay.
headaches, and creating lots of anxiety and drama. Has a very good imagination, so he was creating stories and lying and being kind of a bully behavior. And I'm still
Okay.
dealing with this today,
Okay.
but he is way better, and
Good.
I can see a huge difference when he starts to copy me and see me thriving.
Yes.
And he wants to be like his mama, so that's great that he
Yes.
has me as an example now.
That's lovely. Okay, so there's an impact there, or a potential impact, isn't there, if you are a mum with a metaphobia on your children, whether you want there to be or not. Because I think I was certainly guilty of thinking if I had children, now I was slightly different to you because I didn't have children until I overcame emetophobia, but
Mhm.
I did contemplate at the time where I felt particularly hopeless and particularly powerless and thought I'm never going to be able to get over this thing. It's just who I am. It's part of what
Yeah.
makes me me. I just, if I want to have children, I'm going to have children with emetophobia.
Hmm.
I would kind of tell myself, well, I can hide it. I'll hide it from them. I won't show them that I'm anxious. I won't show them that I'm nervous. I'll hide it. In your experience,
Mm.
is that something that you are able to do? Because I don't have first experience of being a mum with emetophobia.
I try
Can
to
you
hide
hide
it for
it?
sure. You cannot
Okay.
hide it.
Okay.
Kids are very sensitive, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
If mama is feeling unwell, the kids sense it, and
Yes. Yeah.
I had also physical symptoms. I was like blushing, sweating, over breathing, all those things. I could
Yes.
definitely not hide this part of me when
Yes.
they got
Yes.
sick.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So no.
It's very difficult to hide, isn't it? Because if that was a something I used to tell myself and a comfort to myself. I was like, well, I don't have to eat it, but my kids can eat it. That's fine. And I don't have to
Mhm.
show them that I'm washing my hands as often as I am. And I won't make them wash their hands as often as I do. But in hindsight, now sitting where I am
Mhm.
and having a child, I would still be generating so much anxiety if I was a mum with emetophobia and thinking, well, they're going to have to wash their hands as much as
Mhm.
me because there's germs on their hands as much as there's
Yes.
germs on my hands.
Yes,
So it's,
exactly.
yeah. So I think
Mhm.
it would be a very, very difficult thing to do to have emetophobia and to be able to hide that fully from your children.
Mhm.
And you are correct. You know yourself when you are anxious. It's very difficult to put on a front or an act almost that's really convincing for a long period of time.
Yeah, because it feels very real when you're in it. When
Yes.
you don't have
Yes.
perspective, you're just
Yes.
in the midst of this.
Yes.
With all the
Absolutely.
physical symptoms and the brain looping, with all
Yes.
these possibilities of what could happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. What was your narrative, if you will, or your story to yourself while you had emetophobia about yourself as a mum? Did you feel good about yourself as a mum? Did you not? What was your perspective on yourself as a mum with emetophobia?
Whew. I felt like a failure.
Okay.
I felt guilt. I had mom
Mm.
guilt. That was a
Mm.
huge part, especially for my
Mm.
younger boy. There's a story behind that. And I
Mm.
had, yeah, mom guilt. I felt like I needed to be a good example, lead by example. And I was
Mm.
just putting so much pressure on myself and beating myself up about not going out with my boys or not or allowing them to spend too much time on the TV. Like I was creating just not feeling like I was perfect or doing good enough for them.
Yes.
I was not
Yeah.
good enough mom, yeah.
Okay. Didn't feel good enough. So, when you were saying you didn't go out with your boys, what kind of things would you avoid? How did it look? What did life look like for you as a family?
Very restricted, I would say.
Mm. Mm.
We didn't do a lot of things together. I was just so fearful of going outside with
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
especially those big malls or playgrounds or the trampoline garden or something like this. I did it sometimes, but
Yeah.
I was very like anxious about it, feeling anxious about it.
Yes.
When there was
Yes.
birthday parties or something, I had to go and take them there. I was creating a lot of anxiety around
Yeah.
those parts. And then I had these behaviors of like of fasting or restricting food, drinking only
Mm.
water, or even dry fasting. I was going all the ways,
Oh
trying not to be sick.
my. Okay. And
Hmm.
were those behaviours there and present even when the boys weren't sick, when everything was fine? You were still
Yeah, yeah,
fasting because
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
I did never
because
eat dinner with my boys, for example. I ate
you
before
never
or
ate dinner
after.
with your boys.
No.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Brilliant. So, did you? I mean, not brilliant. Did you? Did you ever? Did they ever get sick when you had emetophobia? Were they ever sick when you had emetophobia?
Yeah, yeah, they
Yeah.
were actually. Yeah.
What was the experience like?
As a single mom, I somehow was able to calm myself down a little
Mm.
bit, but I kept my
Mm.
distance and
Mm.
did what I had to do, but with caution, if it makes
Yes.
sense. I was like
Yes, it
holding
does.
distance, but
Yes.
using all the tools that I could use and fasting, like trying to control all the things that I could control in this
Yes.
hopeless situation.
Yes.
Or that's how I felt at the time.
Yes.
Mhm.
When they got sick, because emetophobia, as we know, can be a fear of other people being sick. It can be a fear of yourself being sick. It can be a combination of both. What was it for you?
It was combination of both.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So when they got sick, you found that as terrifying as yourself getting sick.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So interesting then that you were able to calm yourself a little bit. And, because you didn't have an alternative, because you were a single mum, you
Mm-hmm.
had to deal with it,
Mm-hmm.
and you were able to deal with it. Now,
Yes.
were you able to process that afterwards, once you had dealt with it and had got through it, and it was a really uncomfortable experience for you? Did you process that in any way?
That's a good question. No, I didn't.
No.
I absolutely didn't. When I think
No.
back, I just kept brooding about it and being
Yes.
anxious about it.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yes. Yeah.
overthinking everything that happens. Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason I asked there is because, when you have emetophobia, very, very rarely do you spot your achievements. Very, very rarely do you spot that you've done something well, because you're
Mm-hmm.
so alien to praise
Yeah,
yourself, and it's
exactly.
so alien to go, you did really well there. That was really hard and you coped. That vocabulary, that terminology when used with yourself is so rare with emetophobia, isn't it? So
Mm.
we would only ever, when you have emetophobia, focus on what you didn't do well. So you'd beat
Yeah,
yourself up for not being able to be closer to them, or beat yourself up for fasting or not eating or whatever else.
yeah,
So really focus on all the negatives, really focus on all the powerless,
yeah.
rather than looking for what actually you did to achieve there.
And the amount of mom guilt afterwards, not being able to be present for my boys. Do they feel that
Yeah.
I don't maybe love them the way a
Mm.
normal parent will do?
Mm.
And why can't I show up for them when they feel sick? I want to show up for them, but I literally can't. Like, what
Yes.
can I do? So
Yes.
I'm just, yeah, really beating myself up about it. That's what I
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned earlier that it was when your youngest son started copying your behaviour and your eldest son
Yes.
started reassuring you. You thought, oh, crikey, I need to do something about this. How did you go about trying to do something about it?
Well, there was this turning point, like you said, and I started Googling. I had tried so many things before, nothing had worked, and I was just feeling like
Mm.
nothing will ever work for me. And
Mm.
why should I need to try something. I need to do it one more time just for the boys, because I
Yes.
was like really getting at this point hopeless, almost like depressed, and just
Yeah.
didn't see a way out.
Out.
And it
Yeah.
was just not a pleasant time
Mm.
for to be in. So I had
Yeah.
felt like I had to do something,
Yeah.
and I simply googled and googled Emetophobia-Free, how to get out of emetophobia, or I don't know exactly what I googled, but I found the Thrive program, Emetophobia-Free
Okay.
program,
Yeah.
and I immediately
Okay.
contacted a coach, and I was in, and
Fabulous.
yeah,
All in. Okay.
all
So you
in,
went through it with a coach straight from the off. You didn't get the manual first. You just went straight with a coach.
straight with a coach. And I think I really
Brilliant.
needed that because I didn't believe that I could do it alone. I needed some
Right.
kind of like motivation or outside pep in the beginning
Yes.
for
Yeah.
me to like continue. Hmm.
To fully believe it. Okay. So when you, before we dive into the program and your experience of the program and what it felt like to go through it, when you found emetophobia, you said you tried some interventions before. What had you tried previously? And did you have the word emetophobia? Because obviously you clearly did to be able to Google it, right? It's a silly question. But what had you tried previously to overcome it?
Now my English vocabulary will not be very great. It's
Oh,
all the things that all the coaches have mentioned before.
okay. Fair enough. So things like, I don't know, CBT and things like
Yes,
that. Yes.
touching like
So
everything, and even
exposure.
exposure therapy. Yeah.
You've done exposure therapy.
Hmm.
Okay. How was that?
Awful, but it worked like temporarily. but I was
Right.
doing something disgusting. She literally took a paper, touched all the like things, the toilet, the sink, the handles, everything, and put it in a bottle of spray, like what you would use as a perfume. You would like
Yeah.
to clean,
Spray.
yeah, and put water with it and this paper inside. So it was definitely some germs or something. And I was supposed to spray this on my face, and that was awful.
Did you spray that on your face?
I like used it as a like around my environment and worked through or something. It was disgusting. I don't know why I did that, but
Okay.
I was desperate at that time.
Yes. Yes. I mean, we know why you did it because emetophobia is so debilitating. And you're
Yes.
thinking, if this will get me through it, I will do anything that I need to do. But you are a braver woman than I, Sunneva, because I would never entertain the idea of exposure therapy. I was like, no, I'd rather live with this than do exposure therapy. And I think the
Mhm.
research says that the majority of emetophobes would rather avoid exposure therapy at all costs. So
Yeah.
well done you for doing that, and that shows your determination. It really does. So having said that, you've done all those things in the past. They've not worked, long term or particularly well, because sometimes they have an impact on surface level things
Yeah.
almost, but the root problem, the root cause doesn't get touched. The underlying
Not
cause of this thing
even
doesn't get touched.
close.
Not even close.
Mm.
So, eventually it tends to creep back in, and you end up feeling even more powerless trying things like that. So,
Yeah.
let's get back then on track. I met my coach, Emetophobia-Free. What was the experience like?
I'm in hindsight very driven person. So I
Yes.
had that, and also being a perfectionist, I wanted to do everything perfect.
Yes.
So I started with this drive in the very beginning. He told me a few things what I was not supposed to do,
Mm.
and no podcast, no TV, no radio, no like nothing that I can watch or listen to except the Thrive program, and I'm supposed to read, and that's it. And I
Okay.
went with that, and he said like only 6 to 8 weeks, and I was like, okay, I can do that. It's only
Yes.
six to 8 weeks, and I have the
Yeah.
rest of my life left, so why not? I was like desperate
Yes.
at this point,
Yeah.
and every day was I felt more and more powerful as I understood myself better. I
Good.
had few blips here and there, but he was
Mm.
able to really get me up and running again very quickly, and I was
Good.
able to gain perspective very quickly myself and feeling just great. Because
Yes.
this is so much fun to go through the manual and go through the program, and
Yes.
you really get to understand yourself.
Vastly different to exposure therapy then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Vastly. No, no spraying going on here.
Oh,
So,
no.
no, you had your manual, and you said it. Use the word fun there. It was a fun program to go through.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
It's like this.
So explain that, because I think some people will be. I might be wrong, but they might be sitting on the other side of the screen. How can working on your emetophobia and overcoming your emetophobia be fun?
Because you focus on the things that you really do want in your life. Because I felt like I was doing something with my life. Finally, I was taking my power back to me and
Mm.
having some kind of healthy control over my life
Yeah.
and understanding myself on a deeper level than before, understanding why I had emetophobia, and
Mm.
from that space able to build new foundation for
Yes.
myself and
Yes.
really reprogram myself to be a thriving person. And that just created, I just could see so much like change every day,
Mm.
and that is what motivated me to continue basically.
Yes. Yeah. I have to agree,
Hmm.
because obviously I went through the same program as you for the same reason as you, and I think the the sense of relief you have when you read that manual
Yeah.
for the first time and you think, somebody gets it. I'm not alone.
Yes.
I'm not alone. I'm understood. There are other people like me. And there's a reason that I think in this way, and there's a reason that I behave in this way. And there's something that I can do about it that doesn't involve exposing myself to being sick, because actually it's nothing to do with being sick at all. It's all to do with how you're thinking. It's all to do with your perspective. It's all to
Yeah.
do with your belief systems. And these are all things that you can do and tackle without going anywhere near vomit or anywhere near any type of exposure. That's so liberating, isn't it?
It
And
really
you go,
is.
ooh,
And the amount of relief, exactly,
yes,
yes.
yes. And
And
you
the
think,
understanding, yeah.
yes, I understand it. And, being able to really understand yourself is liberating within itself, because you're thinking, all these years I've just been muddling through. I've just been trying, and everything felt so unpredictable. And one day I would be really, really suffering in this thing, and the other day wouldn't be as bad, and I wouldn't know why. It seemed
Yeah.
random. And
Yeah.
some
And
days
you're
I'd be
just
able to
holding
eat.
so many balls in the air, you're
Yes,
like
yes.
juggling.
Yes, yeah, and just trying to muddle through, and then suddenly you
Yeah.
have this manual that goes, you don't need to try and work this out anymore. Here's the answer. This
Yeah.
is what you can do. You go, oh, okay. I've got a game plan. I'm not struggling. I'm not feeling my way through the dark anymore. And
Yeah.
it's not unpredictable. It's something that I can do about it. It's a wonderful feeling. So I really understand the fun part of it.
Yeah.
There are, from my perspective, I don't know about yours, there were some difficult parts of it, in that it took a lot of effort.
It did take a lot of effort. And
And
as a
what was the
single mom,
effort? Yes, please. That was my next question. It takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of time. How did you do that as a single mum?
first I created time. It's maybe taboo to say that, but I was just dedicated to
Yeah,
do this thing.
yeah, yeah.
And I was listening to the videos, for example, and the podcasts on the when I was driving, when I was taking walks.
Yes,
I had it in my ears. When I
yes,
was eventually going to the gym, I had it in my ears when I was in the gym. Like whatever, I
yes,
just used every opportunity that I could to
yes,
keep it rolling and to really
yes,
program myself to think
yes,
differently. And
yes.
reading
And
the
it's,
manual, I did that in the mornings or before I went to bed, anytime
yes,
I had time. Yeah.
yes, yeah. So it's not a taboo thing to say, because it's uh, an important thing to say, because as mums, especially single mums, we know time is precious, we know time is limited, we know how demanding children are on your time and your
Mm-hmm.
resources. They absolutely are. But the thing is, if you overcome emetophobia, you're not just overcoming emetophobia. That's not the purpose, right? So
Absolutely
this
not. No.
emetophobia-free is part of the Thrive program. And what you are doing is you are learning how to thrive, which means not only will you get over your emetophobia, but every area of your life will improve. Your relationship with your
Yeah.
children will improve. How you feel about yourself will improve. How confident you feel in social situations will improve.
Yeah.
Everything will improve. And being able to dedicate and make time for that for
Yeah.
6 or 8 weeks, and really have it at the top of your priority list, is worth all of that effort and that sacrifice, because it is a sacrifice.
Yeah.
If you're exhausted after a day, or a night shift, right? So you're so exhausted after a day or a night at work, and you're thinking, oh, crikey, I need to go to sleep, or I'd really like to go to sleep. But you can just go, let's have 20 minutes. I'll just watch this one video for 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That dedication is really, really powerful and important,
Mm-hmm.
because if you are, you can take longer if you want to. If you want to take longer and do less in a day, you absolutely can.
Yeah.
But the more you can do, the more dedicated you are, the more focused you are on it, the more that you get up every morning and make it your absolute concerted effort. This is my focus today.
Yeah.
The quicker you're going to get there. And
Yeah.
ultimately, you want to be over your emetophobia, so that's the best thing you can do for yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And not beat yourself up for it if you can only watch one video a day or something. Like,
That's it.
I had
Yes.
this pressure on myself during those 6 weeks and had a little blips about it. Like, I only watched one way. Like, because the perfectionism was still within me for maybe 3-4 weeks in.
Yes. Yeah.
It is the effort and the consistency
Absolutely.
that matters.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. And the determination. As you said, there are some times, especially as a parent, as a mum, that things get in the way. You physically haven't got the time sometimes. It's a very strange example this morning, but I was late for my first client because we had the shopping delivered. So I was unpacking the shopping, and at the same time, my daughter found a centipede in the kitchen and she was fascinated. And I was like, So the delivery was late. So it wouldn't usually, it was already an hour late. And then there was a centipede in the kitchen. I was thinking, well, here it is. There's not much I can do about this situation. You just don't have the time.
No.
So it's very much allowing yourself to go, well, I can only do what I can do. I'm human. But as long as I am clear in my mind and consistent that this is the goal and I am going to achieve it, come hell or high water, I will get there.
Yeah.
I just need to make this my priority when I can, when there's no centipedes and no late delivery drivers, right? I'm going to make this a priority.
Exactly.
You will get there. Yeah?
Absolutely.
So how
100%.
long did it take you, Sunneva? How long did it take you to overcome it, would you say?
I think it took me like solid 7-8 weeks. Yeah.
Brilliant.
And I was over it.
Fabulous.
Finally. It was
Amazing.
about time. Yeah.
Yes, about time. That's
and even
amazing.
after that, I overcame it. My boy became sick, and I saw that difference. I was drinking from the same cup as him. I was watching a movie with him, cuddling with him.
Yes.
And just really being there for him and supporting him. And it felt amazing. No mom guilt at all.
That was brilliant. I think I remember actually, I think your testimonial video was around somewhere, and I think that was after your boy got sick. And the emotion that you displayed in that video was just phenomenal, because you were going, I just did it. It was great. I was able to do it. Wasn't pleasant. It's never pleasant when your children are sick, but I was able to be there and show up as his mum as I wanted to.
Yes.
Wasn't held back. There wasn't that anxiety and stress, and it's such a great feeling, isn't it, to be able to do that?
Yeah. And even to eat while the boy is sick, it was so liberating.
That's brilliant.
Like, all was good, all was fine.
Yeah. And my daughter's been sick a couple of times now, and it's so heartwarming, I think, is the word I would use. And I'm always very mindful to be grateful to my past self for putting in the work to allow me to respond in the way that I'm now able to respond to her. Because as I've said, I was never a mum with emetophobia. I overcame it before I became a mum, but I couldn't imagine being able to respond like that to somebody else who was being sick with emetophobia. It was because it is the thing you are the most scared of in the world. It's the fear. You might as well be chased by a bear. That's how scared you feel.
Yeah.
But not having that emotion, not having that fear, and just being able to tolerate it and cope with it and get through it and accept it. Just accept that it's happening. Roll with it. Be kind to yourself whilst you're looking after your child is brilliant. Now that you are over it, and now that you are thriving and you don't have emetophobia, what has been the impact on your boys now?
They are so much more relaxed around me. That's the main difference. They are able to be kids, and they are able to come to me if they feel off.
Yes.
I feel like they were really, that feels new to me, because I feel like they were protecting me during this time, if it makes sense.
Yes.
So I feel more like a mom at the moment. And after I overcame it, now there is this difference. I can be their role model, be their leader, be their basically just mom, and allow them to be kids.
Have you any words of wisdom, words of advice for mums out there with emetophobia?
What sticks to my mind is, if you don't do it for yourself, do it for your boys, because
Mm-hmm.
what you do today really affects their life, your
Mm-hmm.
kid's life.
Mm-hmm.
And also just know that you have choices.
Yes.
Whatever you
Yes.
do today will affect your tomorrow.
Yes.
Mm.
Nice. Okay. So I would like to add at this point, because I can imagine myself, my emetophobia self, watching this podcast and creating even more mum guilt, because I'd be thinking, oh, I'm screwing up my kids' life. I'm making them, anxious. I'm making them stressed. It's not the case. What we're saying is it's harder for your children to be relaxed. It's harder for your children to manage their emotions if you, as the parent, aren't able to manage your own.
Yeah.
If it was the case that every emetophobic mum was able to pass on emetophobia to their children, then everybody with emetophobia would have emetophobic children, which isn't the case,
No.
right? So it's not hereditary. It's not something that you can pass on, but your thinking styles and your unhelpful ways of managing your emotions and your unhelpful belief systems that you have, these are things that your children will, be around and will witness. And if they have a certain set of belief systems, a certain way of processing the world, a certain set of thinking styles, it's making it harder for them to thrive because they don't have that
Yeah.
role model.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I certainly don't want anybody out there to think, oh, well, I'm messing my kids up and I feel terrible after listening to this program.
Should be
Take it as
empowering.
it's empowering.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
it's yes,
empowering.
absolutely. It's about going, I have got options. There is something out there that will allow me to
Yeah.
overcome this, and not only overcome this, but become the very best version of me, become the
Yeah.
very best parent that I could be.
Yeah.
And that's only going to benefit my children, because if I'm more relaxed, they're going to be more relaxed. You
Exactly.
know,
Like,
it's
can you
it's
imagine the relief you will feel and your kids?
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And how
yeah,
more sense of power and control you will have over your life. It will be
absolutely.
amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So I just wanted to clarify that point, because it's a really important point. We don't want
Mm.
anybody creating a sense of guilt or, feeling even more powerless after listening to this. It should be a way that you can go, right, if I am a mum with emetophobia, I want to do this for myself. And that's another thing I want to say. I know I'm hijacking now a little bit, so never, I apologise. But another thing I want to say is, if you are at the stage where you're thinking, well, it is for my children, I'm getting over this for my children, okay, because I don't want them to create this for themselves, or to have to see me go through it, or manage my emotions, then fine if that's your initial motivation, but please be aware that that is an indication of low self-esteem as well. Okay, so you deserve a life emetophobia free, regardless of your children, regardless, okay, because you are your own person, and you have the right to live a life that is calm, and where you feel capable, and where you feel content, and where you're not creating anxiety and stress every day. You are a mum. That's only one side of you. That's only one aspect of your life. You are your whole person, and you deserve this as much as your children deserve it. So we will leave it there for today. Thank you so much, Sunneva.
Thank you so
And
much.
hopefully we will have you on the podcast again sometime soon.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Okay. Take care. Bye.